Good evening, friends. Today we'll be discussing about the role of women's movement, organizations, and issues on political empowerment. If we see from the British era itself, we have seen the women have been actively taken part in the freedom struggle because of Mahatma Gandhi. He motivated, he encouraged the women to take active part in all the movements at that time. And at the time, we have also seen that a lot of people have fought against the social evils, especially against the women. We can talk about Raja Ram Mohan Rai and so on, my dear friends. So, in the year 1882, my dear friends, Brahma Samaj was founded by Raja Ram Mohan Rai for the religious reform because because the Indian society is based on caste structure, which is dominated by the religious conditions. So, in order to transform the society, they thought that it is our duty, it is our responsibility to transform or reform the religious aspects. So, at that time, this Brahma Samaj was formed by Raja Ram Mohan Rai, and we can also see they encourage association of women, they encourage a girl child education, and so on, my dear friends. So if we see the Swadeshi period also marked the main formation of several women's organizations, especially in the 19th century. NG Ranade has asked for the government to spend or to invest more money on girls high schools, constructing high schools in the year 1882. And they also talked about legal authority to discourage the child marriages at the time. They also talked about the Law of Consent Act in the year 1891. That means our duty is to take the consent of the girl, whether she is willing to go for marriage or not. So these were the laws which were formed at the time. At the same time, there was a National Social Conference in the year 1887, which tried to provide an all India forum for discussion on social reforms. So we require a platform because if we see India is we have different cultures, different communities, and so on. So in order to bring all the people together, in order to listen to all the voices of the people, they thought that we need to have some council or forum where we are going to discuss this. So we have National Social Conference which was brought in the year 1887 to provide for all India discussions on all social reforms. So as a result, because there was building pressure on the government, they are building the pressure on the people at that time. So at that time, do you know what happened? Because of this, we can see all Hindu ladies social and literary club was formed in the year 1902, which was formed by Rama Bharati Ranade. Then we have Widows Home, which was founded in the year 1913 by Subbalakshmi Amal and Mahila Seva Samaj in the year 1913 of Mysore, which we see in the North India, like we have Rameshwari Nehru Women's Magazine, which was published in Hindi, and we also see this three Darpan and the organized Mahila Samitis in Allahabad in the year 1809. So during the 19th century, we can see a lot of reforms have taken place. A lot of platforms came where people are going to express their views and they are going to mobilize the people so that they can transform the society and also reform. So when we have all these women's movements, all these things, these were on four issues, my dear friends. They were having four characteristics. The first one is male direction. The second one is a concept of complementary sex roles. The first one is male direction because if we see that India is a patriarchal system where male are going to direct or dictate the terms and conditions. So they thought that we also have to make it flexible so that women can also take part in all the domains, my dear friends. The second one is they said that there must be a complementary of sex roles, that if we see in the Indian society, girls are supposed to take care of household activity, they are supposed to take care of children, they are supposed to take care of this and that. Like we are going to have pre-specified, prefixed roles, what a male is supposed to do and what a female is supposed to do. And even if we see in terms of the emotions also, a girl can cry, whereas a boy at any point of time cannot cry. Whereas a boy can laugh loudly, whereas a girl is not supposed to laugh loudly, just like a male. And we also have made statements saying that we cannot trust a boy who is crying, and we cannot trust a lady who is laughing like anything. So these kind of statements are there in the Indian society, which try to regulate the human behavior, which try to control their emotions, so on, my dear friends, which try to control the emotions, control the activities, everything. So here they said that we can also encourage the other people to take up the roles. Why only female has to take care of the household activity like cooking, washing, cleaning the? Why not boy? The same way, why not the girl can go outside and earn the money just like the male? So we are going to talk about the complementary sex roles to be performed. The third characteristic is absence of a radical onslaught on patriarchal basis in Indian culture. So here we are not going to, whenever it's there, whenever we are going to have patriarchal, whenever we are going to have certain issues, we don't see people fighting against the unjust happening to a human being. For example, let's take the example of sati system. Because at the time the population of female was less, at the time the demand for the female was higher. So we have kanya shulkamu, or bride's price, came into existence. So the girl's parents started demanding more money so that they can offer the daughter to any person to get married. They're not going to see whether the girl child will be happy or not. So most of the older people who are about 50, 60, and so on, they had money. So they used to give that money to the girl's parents, and in turn they used to get married. A 50, 60 years old boy used to marry the girl, young girl of 8 years old, 10 years old, and so on. And that fellow may die or expire maybe after 10 years or 15 years. But at the time, the girl will be around 18 years or 20 years. She's going to be a widow, and most of the widows have been suffered like anything. And in some areas where the practice of sati is there, they were forced to be burned alive, my dear friends. These kind of evils are there. So we need to have a mechanism whenever there is unjust, whenever there are evil practices, we need to have the mechanism where we can go and fight against the unjust, my dear friends. So there is absence of radical onslaught on the patriarchal system, especially in the Indian culture. If you see in the Western world, uh, when a girl was harassed at the workplace, the entire community came onto the streets, and with the movement called Me Too movement. And slowly we have seen that movement has spread across the world too, my dear friends. See, in the Western countries where the education is high, where the awareness is more, at the time people are going to take active part in the agitations of movements, my dear friends, which is less in the underdeveloped countries or developing countries, and in the rural areas compared with the urban areas. And the fourth characteristic is orientation towards allied representation and not mass mobilization. If we see, whenever we have these movements or agitations, we can see only the elite people taking part, only the people who are educated, who are there in the urban areas. But if we see in the rural areas, these people are ignorant, illiterate, and they don't have much awareness, and they're also in the shackles of patriarchal hierarchy and so on. So our duty is to mobilize the people. But if you're not going to mobilize the people, then there will not be any strength where we can transform the society or reform the society. So all these movements have worked on these four characteristics. One is male direction. Second one is the concept of complementary sex roles. Third one is absence of radical onslaught on patriarchal system. And the last one is orientation towards the representation, that to allied representation and not for mass mobilization, my dear friends. So the important event which took place in the 19th century was the establishment of All India Women's Conference in the year 1927 by Margaret Cousins and others. It has become a permanent organization with regional constituent organizations and regional constant conferences and annual sessions. So they used to organize meetings, they used to organize conferences so that they are going to bring all the issues together. They are going to share their experiences. They are going to share their happiness as well as issues, my dear friends. It is going to bind the people together. It is going to educate the people and strengthen the organization. Now let us discuss about the ideology of Indian women movement of pre and post independence. During the revivalist ideology. If you see during 1901 to 1918, the approaches of ideology which were adopted by the Indian women's movement were women's upliftment. They want their main duty is to enable the women to play a more constructive role in the society by reforming the social practices. Second, they thought of providing equal rights to the men as well as women. Provide equal rights means extension of all the civil rights which were enjoyed by men to the women also. It can be economical, it can be social, it can be political, and in all the spheres, they are going to provide equal opportunities and equal rights to the women on par with the men, my dear friends. The important spokesperson of the early movement was Annie Besant as well as Sarojini Naidu. These people have delivered a number of speeches at different meetings or women's organization, or they've also spread their ideology in the form of writings, articles, which are meant to inspire the women across the world. They pointed out that the decline of Indian civilization has become the decline for the status of women. Because if we see the Vedic literature, at that time it has given equal opportunity for each and every section of people in the society, irrespective of caste, irrespective of creed, irrespective of gender, anything, my dear friends, it gave equal opportunity for each and every individual. But as the Vedic civilization has been vanished off or it's declining, even the status of women has also been declined, my dear friends. Somewhere this Varna system has been turned into caste system. When this caste system came into existence, it has made the society or the structure very rigid. It's not based on the skills acquired by the individual, but it is based on birth. The person is going to get the status like a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or so on. And because India being a peninsula, it has been isolated for longer period, which also made them to be rigid in terms of their relations and so on. And it's being ruled for by the foreigners for a longer period. Even that can also be one of the reasons for the rigidity. And the third one is the foreigners, they want to rule India. Remember, during the Vedic period, when you see long back, we can see that most of the philosophers across the world, they used to come to India and they have studied in Nalanda and Takshashila University. So we were superior. Right now, Indians are going towards Oxford University and so on. They're looking towards US, UK, and so on. But once upon a time, the entire world have looked towards India. They used to come to India because India is to provide world-class educational system. We used to have world-class universities at the time, my dear friends. We used to have all the art forms and where which can provide accommodation for thousands of people and train them in all the domains, my dear friend. So when they came here, they want our people to be ignorant so that they can rule us for longer period. So they thought that whatever the source of information or source of knowledge is there, that has to be destroyed. So what they have done is that they have burned the libraries, because in the libraries we have books. So that has been burned. Second one, all the temples or all the religious places, because even on the temple walls, they have written about their life and death. Even now, people are doing research on the Egypt civilization. If you go to Egypt civilization, you'll find no human being surviving there. So how are we going to get the information? It is based on the paintings which are painted in the pyramids. They have used the pictography in order to exhibit about their life and death, my dear friends. So we are going to depict this pictography and we are going to study about their life and death, and we are going to write about or study about their life, my dear friends. The same way, whatever the religious places were there, that also have been destroyed so that the information cannot be passed on. And the third one is they also started killing the teachers, so that because they were also the source of information. So that may be also one of the reason for rigidity in terms of uh, the occupations and so on, my dear friends. So once the Vedic literature has been declined, even the status of women has been declined, my dear friends. Second one, providing equal rights. Okay, sorry. The women's upliftment plea, which was made by Annie Besant and Sarojini Naidu, made use of their revivalist concept. in order to legitimize the participation of women in both public as well as private life, my dear friends, in the 20th century. Because of this ideology, because of their writings and interaction with the people, it motivated them to take active role both in the private as well as public life, my dear friends. Now let us see about some of the movements or the participation of women in these movements. The first one is Chipko movement. This is one of the early movements, women's movements, uh, which has been inspired by many, which has inspired many women activists. In this Chipko movement took place in Uttarakhand region of Uttar Pradesh. The indiscrimination deforestation by unchecked commercial interest has created an economic crisis for the local people and for those people who are residing in the forest and who are going to depend on the forest for making a living, my dear friends. So this impact was especially greater for women of that region, as it is the women who mostly do cultivation part and who are going to gather the fodder and who are going to use this water as fuel, and they also go to the forest to get the water and so on. So the Chipko movement was organized under the leadership of CP Butt and other male Sarvodaya workers, organized as the Shauli Gram Swaraj Mandal, with the initial demands like local participation in the management of forest and limit of exploitation. So they said that we need to have the Sholi Gram Swaraj Mandal with the main intention that we require people's participation in terms of managing the forest at the same time to limit the exploitation. In the year 1973, this GDSM successfully prevented the forest department from allocating rights for a set of as trees to company from the plains, which use the wood for making tennis rackets. In the year 1974, the government made plans to allow 2,500 ash trees in the rainforest to be cut, but suggested that when the time came, the people used to hug the trees. Nothing but they used to hug the trees, that we call it as in Hindi, we call it as chipko, to protect them. With the lumber company arrived to the forest, these men of the community were all away, and the women of the area would quickly go to the trees and there's to hug. There's to mobilize the people and there's to hug so that these people could not cut the trees, my dear friends. Subsequently, the UP government has declared the rainforest should become a protected area. It was this action of the women that caused Chipko movement to be known as Women's Movement, my dear friends. The Sarvodaya workers, realizing the women were a valuable political force, started programs to educate them and involve them in all the public activities. This was the first movement. Later on, we also have Iraq movement. This was organized in Andhra Pradesh in a small village named Dubbagunta in Nellore district. Dubbagunta in Nellore district. The adult women learners of the village in Akshara Deepam project got inspired by the story where a village woman by name Sitamma, with the strength and cooperation of other village women, stopped the evil practice of consuming the liquor or selling the liquor in the village. So this story motivate the people to organize themselves in Dubbagunta to take up the campaign of prohibiting the liquor in the village. They met the village mandal officer and informed the same and submitted a petition to the government for prohibiting the sales of alcohol. Slowly, the Iraq movement picked up and spread like wildfire, motivating the hundreds and thousands of women to take active part in this movement. And the government had no option except to yield to the demands of this Iraq movement led by the women of Andhra Pradesh, and the government declared prohibition first in the Nellore district and later stopped the event of liquor consumption, where about 200 crores worth of liquor was consumed by poor village men, because the consumption is more at that time. Do you know what happened? Because after the work or during the daytime also, these people used to consume alcohol, which used to spoil their health. They are going to lose their money. At the same time, if a person is put to death, the entire family is going to be disturbed, my dear friends. For that reason, my dear friends, the government was forced to, even though the government is going to get more revenue from alcohol sales, in spite of that, they were forced to stop selling the alcohol. But right now, you can see again, but you can see that again the alcohol consumption is increasing in AP. At the same time, the sales are also increasing in AP. Now let us discuss about women's organizations. Let us discuss about women's organizations. The basic aim and objective of almost all women's organization is to modernize India or Indian society by improving the standards and the lives of women. The right wing of the women's organization urged the state to pass and implement laws which will give women equality in all the matters like inheritance of property, in terms of marriage, divorce, and so on. They also asked to take actions to improve women's health, because if a lady is not healthy, then she will not be able to take active part in all the areas. So they also said that we need to have an action plan in order to improve the health conditions of women. At the same time, also increase the access to education, and also have material well-being, so that we are going to provide equality in all the domains, including employment, and to pass on implement legislation with regard to rape, dowry, and so on. So even though we are going to have plenty of organizations, the organizations cannot be same, because the cultures vary from one place to the other place. Patterns changes, the structure changes, even the belief system also changes, my dear friends. So according to the needs of the people, they also have different structures, my dear friends, different operational structures and different affiliations, my dear friends. Based on the necessity, based on the requirement, they are going to have this. The women's organization have political party affiliation like Janata Party, Mahila Dakshata Samiti, the Communist Party of India's National Federation of Indian Women, All India Democratic Women's Association, All India Coordination Committee of Working Women. All these are affiliated to some or the other political parties, my dear friends. We also have All India Women's Conference, which has historical connection with the Congress Party, Young Women's Christian Association, which has a long history of action on behalf of women, and so on. We also have Self-Employed Women's Association, SEWA, in Gujarat, and sponsored a number of rural development projects. In the beginning, in the labor union movement of Textile Labor Association, Women's Wing, subsequently resulted in formation of SEWA in the year 1971. And the main goal of this SEWA is to run on Gandhian principles to gain visibility, protection, and a fair deal for women workers, especially in the unorganized sector, self-employed women, workers, and so on. In the year 1972, SEWA has become a registered trade union of self-employed women, workers, overcoming the objections of Labour Commission and Gujarat Labour Development, which has grown into an organization with about 70,000 members, at that time. And it also provided women with the resources which are necessary for them to gain a strong economic boosting. It bargains with contractors, with money lenders on behalf of these members, and acts in the interest of the group members. This union, SEWA, also operates a legal aid division, um, which represents the individual complaints and also face the challenge of police harassment, court cases, and so on. On behalf of all the women members, my dear friends, this Seva has created economic cooperative through which women obtain supplies, organized production, and also recovered and also market their goods. So they are not only going to get the money, they're also going to use this money in order to increase the production, and they're also going to create the market where these people can go and sell the goods, my dear friends. Seva has established a cooperative bank also, which is going to provide the loans for the people. 98% of the loans were given to these women, my dear friends, at the time, so that they are self-employed and they are going to, it is going to help them in generating the finances. And this Seva also had a Mahila Trust, which used to provide women with health care, maternal benefits, economic assistance for widows, life insurance, and daycare centers or facilities for the women of who are destitute, or else for the women and for the children, like so on. Similarly, Working Women's Forum has been founded in Madras in the year 1978, and later on it has been expanded even in the rural Tamil Nadu, as well as some of the cities and towns in Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka also. The forum has about 40,000 members at that time. We also have Annapurna Mahila Mandals, which was founded in Mumbai, just like Seva and just like Working Women's Forum. It was founded by Jaya Arnachalam because of her organizing skills, political experience, and political connections. The political awareness and experience as Congress party activists, and also social service rendered through voluntary organization called Vidya Bharati Plus, for which she was the executive secretary. To all these capacities, and through which practical skills and extensive network of connections with women to the poorest neighborhood of Madras. One common feature is that all the independent social service agencies which they have started, especially in the urban areas, for the women activities, were highly educated with extensive prior experiences in policies. So whoever has taken part in this AMM, Annapurna Mahila Mandals, my dear friends, they are educated people and they also have political awareness, which made them to work successfully and bring awareness at a massive level, my dear friends. They are also involved in the state of affairs. They encourage the people to take part in this state affairs too. Now, let us discuss the role of these voluntary agencies or voluntary organizations. If we see here, we have Andhra Mahila Sabha. This is an voluntary service organization which was started by Durgabai Deshmukh for the cause of girls or women's education. And it also tried to uplift the status of women, my dear friends. So it's an voluntary organization which is working in Andhra Pradesh. Um, we can see Andhra Mahila Sabha is running schools, colleges across the state, my dear friends. So it also used to have a bridge schools. If any people have been dropped out and they're not continuing the education, they are put on the bridge school so that they can allow them to join 10th class directly and complete the education and so on, my dear friends. In the year 1942, the first batch of students were sent to appear for examinations at Banaras. Out of the students sent for examination, 90% of them have passed, having faced some problem for admissions for intermediate at Madras University. Durgabai has decided to start intermediate classes in 1943 with 8 women students, and the activity of Andhra Mahila Sabha was published, and they started running a monthly magazine with the name Andhra Mahila. Andhra Mahila Sabha also established its own press in Madras 3 years later of starting this. During the year in between 1937 to 1946, Andhra Mahila Sabha grew from small beginning. It has become very, very big, my dear friends. Andhra Mahila Sabha was started by Durgabai Deshmukh, who has become a member of the Planning Commission and has become the in charge of education, which mobilized many courses for women, especially in health and education for women. She was responsible for drawing a separate section on women's education for the first 5-year plan. She was appointed as the chairman of National Commission or Committee on Girls and Women Education in the year 1959, which was constituted by the Government of India. And she has made several recommendations. She has recommended for National Council for Women's Education, which was accepted, and she became the first chairman of the National Commission for Women's Education and Training, my dear friends. She was instrumental in establishing Central Social Welfare Board. The board came into existence on August 1953, and the main duty was to administer the programs of grants in aid to existing voluntary organizations which are going to look after the development and implementation of welfare schemes through non-profitable organizations. As a planning commission member, she allocated 40 million rupees per CSWB for, for helping the voluntary social welfare organizations. In the year 1954 onwards, by the end of the plan period, in order to implement the schemes originally started by Durgabai Deshmukh, like they started investing more money on that. She has become the full-time chairman of this CSWB at the instance of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the then Prime Minister. And at the time, she has taken special interest for welfare of rural women at that time. We also have Andhra Yuvati Mandali, which was started by Shamala Devi in order to work for the cause of women's education, betterment of lives of women, and so on. We also have integrated rural development program. We also have TRISOM training of rural youth for self-employment, and so on. We also have DACRA groups, development of women and children in rural areas, then integrated child development scheme, and so on. Likewise, n number of programs have been designed in order to look after the welfare of the people, in order to promote the welfare of women especially. Besides these voluntary agencies, my dear friends, we can also see the assistance in certain programs like increasing the political awareness among women and encouraging the people to take part in the political process, also in terms of making decisions, my dear friends. We can also build up the pressure on the government to design the policies or to modify the policies as per requirement. The previous government has appointed a committee to discuss on the age at marriage, especially for women, because right now they're talking about equality. The age for the girl to go for marriage is 18, and for the boy it is 21. So at the time they said, why not 21 for both the gender? Why different 18 and 21? So there was a debate going on for that. For that, you can see the government has appointed a committee. So increase in political awareness, motivate them to take active participation in political process, and also involve in decision making. The next one is providing legal aid and legal education to women. Legal aid and legal education to women. Recently, when I'm teaching for the law students, I came across a lady, a student, girl student. She's around 40 plus, and she has joined integrated a 5 years degree program, lab program, BL program. I asked the lady, you are around 40 years plus. What made you to join this program? The lady said, I'm facing a lot of harassment with the in-laws and with my husband. I don't want to go and lodge a complaint in the police station. I don't want to create hell for myself because I don't have parents. If they ask me to leave the house, I don't know where to go also. But if I'm going to have LLB degree, then obviously my in-laws may be afraid of me because they think that I know all the sections and I can create problem for them. And once she has joined the program, the lady said that there's plenty of change in the attitude of my husband, also my in-laws too. I did not even complete my course, but they are afraid of me, or else at least they have modified their behavior towards me. So, if people are going to have awareness, then they can utilize it properly, my dear friends. So, we require legal aid, support, as well as legal education, so that whenever they are being exploited, they can rescue themselves, or else the organizations can help them to come out of these problems. The third one is educating women, because 1/3 of jobs are reserved for women. Even in the local bodies, we have 1/3 of reservation which are meant for women who belong to BC, SC, and ST categories, my dear friends. So if people are not aware, if people doesn't know what they are supposed to do at the time, they will not be able to enjoy it. They will not be able to contest and even be elected, my dear friends. So we require educating women so that they can utilize this, and they can also get jobs, they can also enjoy it, and they can also be the members at the local bodies. We require political empowerment. Then the next one is we require participation and representation of women in decision making process, both at the Jilla Parishad, even at the Panchayat system. If a girl is not having a status at the home, how do we expect the girl can come outside and take part in the decision making? So for that, we require education, we require change in the structure in the society. We also have to change the mindset of the people so that women can be allowed to take active part. The next one is provide necessary training and support to women. Provide necessary support and training to the women who are elected as sarpanch or to the mandal elections for the first time, so that they can function, they can work effectively, my dear friends. So this way, we're also going to help them in all these agents areas. It may be by the voluntary organizations, even by the government, my dear friends. According to search, according to search, a voluntary organization, my dear friends, um, which has been started in Karnataka for rural development. They started developing a training strategy which is meant to empower the women, especially in the Panchayat Raj institutions. They talked about six things. Already we have discussed this in the previous class also. The first one is creation of proper space for women, mobilization of resources, then develop social leadership among them, then economic independence, and then we also have women's personal autonomy, and last one is political leadership. So I'm not going in depth because already we have discussed about this in the previous class, my dear friends. Now let us discuss about some of the issues which need to be attended or which need to be discussed, my dear friends. In the national perspective of plan for women during 1988 to 2000, my dear friends, the Department of Women and Child Development has been set up by the Ministry of Human Resource Development by the Government of India in order to identify the issues which are related with women issues, like it may be regarding their social conditions, economical, political, and so on. During the last decade, my dear friends, especially last 2 years, there have been deliberate efforts in order to implement uh, programs or the decisions which are taken in the conference of non-aligned and other developing countries. In the year 1985, April, and at Nairobi World Conference in July 1985, a forward-looking strategy for advance of movement has been evolved. Even then, it has been found possible by political parties to fill the number of women candidates, but they have planned. They also ensured that it has been increased, but it's not up to the mark, my dear friends. However, the formation of Department of Women and Child Development uh, by the Minister of Human Resource Development is one of the significant step, my dear friends. The constitution of separate development of women has developed on focusing programs especially meant for women development. So here we are going to have certain programs, my dear friends, which have been designed at the time. Let us discuss about certain programs or things. No, the issues like the first one is non-implementation or limited implementation of development measures. There are plans, my dear friends, but these plans have not been effectively implemented. If we see, in order to have equality of women, we have designed a 20-point formula with the serial number 12, which was designed in the year 1986. Certain special schemes like legal literacy programs, awareness generation programs, prevention of atrocities against women, or some of the attempts which were taken by the government at that time. The settings of the National Expert Committee on Women Prisoners and National Commission on Self-Employed Women are also some of the significant steps which are taken up in order to provide the right to equality and so on. They also tried to bring a lot of policies at the time, but these policies were not up to the mark or else not implemented effectively. The other reason for this was because of backward consciousness among women. Even when you're going to, we can simply, there is also a statement saying that you can take the horse to the river, but you cannot make the horse to drink the water. Because of the emotions, because of the patriarchal system and so on, the women lack the interest on social issues. They are least bothered. They are worried only about the family, and they think that the society may not accept them. So that is also one of the reason for low participation of women and and the programs not being successful. The third one is equal role of women in decision making. One of the question of peace, since women are the most vulnerable groups in the region affected by armed conflicts. Special attention has been drawn to the need to eliminate obstacles. I'll give one example. It's not to hurt anybody's sentiments, guys. Um, if you see in the northern part of India, I don't want to take the name of the state also. Jat panchayats are very, very strong. Jats are nothing but the land lords. A girl, a girl was raped by a boy, and the girl has gone to the police station, but the police did not lodge the complaint or registered the complaint FIR, and the lady gone here and there, but nothing happened. And because the Jat Panchayats have said that we are going to dictate the terms, we are going to address the issue. There is no need for you to come and involve in this. So at last, the lady gone here and there, and at last she came in front of the media. And when the issue was published, then the police was forced to, because of the mechanism, administrative mechanism, they have built up the pressure. They asked why you did not register the FIR when the lady approached the police station. So at the time there was no option left over. So they have registered a case, and the boy was kept behind the bars. And a media personnel went the next day to the boy and asked like, how do you feel? Do you feel ashamed of your act? Then the fellow has said that, why should I feel ashamed? I enjoyed the girl. I spared the girl. Bichari jane do bol ke left the girl. I spared the girl. I spared the life. From tomorrow onwards, if any boy like me is going to rape a girl, they are going to erase the evidence. And once that statement has been published, my dear friends, the next day itself you can see there are almost 5 rapes and murder cases across the country, and even the same incidents also happen nearby Shamshabad, my dear friends. And in one case, my dear friends, the Jat Panchayat has called for the Panchayat, and they said that the boy who raped the girl paid 20,000 rupees to the girl, and 5,000 rupees to the girl, and the case was dissolved, my dear friends. These kind of issues are happening even now. I'm talking about the 21st century. I'm not talking about 1970s or beyond, before that, my dear friends. So our duty is to motivate them to have equal role in terms of making the decisions, my dear friends, so that they can enjoy all the basic rights and enhance them and encourage them to take part at each and every level in the social activities. But they have less interest towards matters, especially political. Do you know why? Because they themselves think that they are marginal. They are in marginal position compared with the men. The crucial problems that are that the women find themselves by standards. One standard is they are feminine. They think that the feminine are inferior to the masculine, and they are supposed to take care of only the private world and not the public world. And they are going to take care of nurturing. They are supposed to take passive because passive roles in the house. They think that they are emotional beings. They are supposed to take care of only home household work, like they are home oriented.